I decided that instead of writing a post today, I'll make a video one instead because there's just so much to say that it's hard to write it in so many words. Because, it's amazing to me how dangerous this MAGA cult has gotten. And when it says it's not a cult, it's just supporters of Donald Trump. And and I get it. You can say whatever you want, but at the end of the day, it's a cult. And all the signs have been there. For example, we had the fourth anniversary of January 6th this past Monday. And everyone I spoke to, which were basically people in the cult, friends that I know, or acquaintances, or even people on social media, have gone full steam ahead with the lies that their leader, Donald Trump, has said, which says, one, Ashley Babbitt was killed for no reason. That is an absolute lie. Ashley Babbitt was killed when she tried climbing in through a door to a window that they broke. And there is a video of that. So there is no way you can deny that. Number two, the January 6th people that are in jail are political prisoners. Well, you haven't said why you think they're political prisoners. That's number one. Number two, they're not political prisoners. You put them in prison, Mr. Trump, by your violence, your lies, and anything else you want to throw out there. They were traitors. And let me say, Donald Trump has said that the Republican Party and him are the party of law and order, correct? Well, if they're of law and order, does that mean for everybody but me? Because January 6th went against the Constitution, went against the law. You had an insurrection, overthrowing the government, or trying to, with a coup. You think that's legal to do? You think that's okay? To threaten people's lives? Hang Mike Pence because he wouldn't do the bidding of their master? That is not a democracy. That is fascism, authoritarianism. So if you're for law and order, why would you pardon insurrectionists and traitors? If you're for law and order, why are you meddling in the Supreme Court? If you're for law and order, why are you for violence? You can't have it both ways. Okay? You can't have it both ways. And the fact of the matter is, everybody who voted for Donald Trump, you got played. You got conned. All he did was he wanted your vote. So he told you what you wanted to hear to get those votes. Now that you got those votes, he's like, I can't bring grocery prices down. Well, duh. We all sane people who didn't vote for him, we already knew that. You can't get grocery prices down. They have to come down naturally on its own. Prices go up, prices go down. That is how it works. He's making promises he can keep. And y'all all fell for that con. So January 6th, he's basically he and the GOP are trying to whitewash it by rewriting history where it never happened, and those tapes were all paid actors by a Hollywood studio, okay? And two, The people that were on the committee are traitors and should be treated as criminals, as such. But here's the thing. Why are you going after Liz Cheney? If there were multiple people on that committee, Benny Thompson, Adam Schiff, Jamie Raskin, to name a few, why are you going after Liz Cheney instead of all the rest of them? What did she do? You're denying something. You're trying to rewrite history when the proof is in the pudding. You can't say, oh, it was a walk in the park and all these videos of people attacking the Capitol are paid actors from Hollywood or the Democrats or the FBI. No, it happened. You can rewrite history to your alternate reality, but at the end of the day, you have videotape, and contrary to what Donald Trump wants you to believe, the evidence wasn't destroyed because it is available as a book, which I saw at a Barnes & Nobles recently, and it's available for downloading on your computer, on the internet. So if they destroyed the evidence, how am I able to read it in a PDF file? How am I able to buy it in book form? Explain it to me. Well, first off, it's also against the law to destroy federal documents. That's number one. Number one. And those documents have already been submitted to the courts. So it's already been public knowledge, even if there was no book. So how can you destroy evidence that's federal papers? Do you have proof? And any sane person will know that all the evidence out there has been published. Regardless of that, Cassidy Hutchinson wrote an entire book about it. The New York Times published it. A lot of the advisors gave eyewitness accounts to it that worked for Trump. And let's not forget, the FBI is Trump's FBI, that somehow mysteriously he forgot about. So, January 6th, you can whitewash it, you can deny it, you can laugh, you can even blame the Democrats. At the end of the day, history has recorded that there were insurrectionists, that Donald Trump tried to get to overthrow the government so he could stay in power illegally and illegitimately. So if you're a man who says, I'm all for law and order, then you should have allowed a peaceful transition to go off. Even if you believe you won, which you didn't, if you're for law and order, you should let the transfer of power proceed peacefully. Otherwise, you are just a goddamn hypocrite telling people, I'm all for law and order, except when it comes to me. But that is not how it works. Speaking of law and order, on to the next topic, which I'm pretty sure is a distraction. I just don't know from what. But Donald Trump has decided he wants to make Canada the 51st state. Why? Does anybody know why he does anything he does? No. He also decided he wants Greenland because somehow it's suddenly secure for security reasons. And he wants to rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of the Americas. Why? Because he doesn't like Mexico. Great. And I don't like Donald Trump. So let's just call him something else. But that doesn't mean you need to change things. First of all, in order to become the 51st state, you actually have to have a vote. And Puerto Rico did just that. A couple of years ago, and I don't know how many people know this, but a couple of years ago, Puerto Rico voted in the elections with the following question. Do you want to become the 51st state, or do you want to remain independent as part of the American mainland? They voted to be independent as part of the American mainland, but still be part of the United States as a territory. And that was great. If Canada chooses to become the 51st state, they would have to vote. But they're not even in the United States. Not even close. Puerto Rico is a territory. You don't need a passport to go to Puerto Rico. You don't need a birth certificate or a visa to go to Puerto Rico. To go to Canada, to get into the Canadian border, you need a passport and or a birth certificate. That's because it is another country. So, I don't know. And number two, the President of the United States has no authority whatsoever to make something a state. If Canada wanted to become a state, Congress is the only one with the authority to do this. Not the President. If the President wants Greenland, it has to go through the proper channels. You cannot take a state or a province or whatever by force. It is illegal, in violation of international law, and unconstitutional. Again, this goes back to a man who says he's for law and order. Yet, his tactics that he's doing right now have nothing to do with law and order. In fact, it's sowing chaos and fighting. You want to, with the threats, I will go by force to get what I want. That's not law and order. That's basically you declaring war on another country because you want what they're not giving you. How is that law and order? We all know why Donald Trump wants Greenland. It's common sense. Greenland has a lot of resources rich in iron, ore, oil, and anything else out there. Donald Trump wants it because he wants to, as he says, drill, baby, drill. He wants the money. And he will get that by any means necessary. He doesn't care. Donald Trump is either a troll, he's joking, he's serious, or he's all three. But he is a narcissist, so it's all an ego thing. But he enjoys starting fights, and he's trying to pit everybody against each other and actually have the war. But here's another thing. A president cannot declare war either. Only Congress has the power to do that. Speaking of Congress, the dimwit blonde bimbo, Marjorie Taylor Greene, the minute Donald Trump said he wants to rename the Gulf of Mexico Gulf of America, she, in her infinite wisdom, decided to make up a bill authorizing that. I mean, does this blonde bimbo ever work for the people that voted her in? Or does she just bow to her master, who says, lick my feet, and she goes, okay. Does she even look at the ramifications of what would happen if that happened, or if it's even feasible, or the process? No, she just said, let's change the name, let's come up with a bill. And 90% of her bills are a joke. They don't come up for votes. They're not even presented to the floor. That's how much of it's a joke. But if that's the case, why isn't she coming up with a bill authorizing Greenland to hand over themselves to the United States? Why not Canada? Marjorie Taylor Greene tweeted the other day, the governor of Canada, she mentioned that we stand with our brothers and sisters in the state of Canada, except for one problem. Canada is not a state. It's a province. It's never been a state, never will be a state. You can't be a state when you're in a country. And the United States is a country, yes, but we have 50 states, right? Canada is a province. But she said Canada as a state. And I actually responded to that on our page, calling her out. And people attacked me as if I had committed an ultimate sin. Like, it's like you joined a cult, you got indoctrinated and brainwashed, and then you forget your entire education that you learned in school. Canada was always a province. It was always a country that was not part of the states. Why does... And then he writes, Donald Trump, the people of Greenland like me very much. They love... And MAGA is nice and strong in Greenland. Really? Really? They're a Dutch colony, or a Dutch province. They are independent from anybody else. For years, Greenland is one of the peaceful nations that are out there. Have you ever heard of Greenland going to war with somebody? Have you ever heard of Greenland killing people? Have you ever heard of terrorism in Greenland? No. Because Greenland, for years, since the 1800s, for over 200 years, they have been under Dutch rule. They've been under Dutch rule. And they're peaceful. They are in NATO, and Denmark is a strong ally of ours, a really good friend. But Donald Trump is going to alienate them to the point where these countries say, fuck you, we don't want to deal with you anymore. Do I think Donald Trump is going to go after Greenland and say he's going to take it by any force necessary? That depends. How stupid is he? Is he willing to risk World War III? The so-called war he said Biden was causing by letting immigrants into the country, which still made no sense when he said it? Or is he just distracting from other things because he doesn't want people to know? I don't think he's going to go in and say, take Greenland. I don't think he's going to say, we want Canada as a 51st state. And I really don't think they're going to rename the Gulf of Mexico, although Chuck Schumer did say today that the Democrats do support it. So on that front, we'll see what happens. But I don't see it happening. Nor do I. And my best friend, who's Canadian, told me it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen, and Canada is going to bow down to the whims of Donald Trump. Just like Greenland isn't going to cave. But here's the thing.